Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Okay, it's in the Ferals page too, in the Arts Front page.
Arts Front page. Okay, I'll just check and make sure that's running live as well.
Okay, we'll mute now, Martin and Alison will.
Sure.
Okay, we are live on YouTube and the Arts Front page. So we're all up and running. So I'm also going to mute myself now.
Great, we'll start in 2 minutes.
Excellent. So you're all good, Alison?
Yeah, all good. It's great being able to see everyone at once.
I love that gallery view.
It's kind of like that Sesame Street thing where one of these things is not like another.
Hi, Lauren.
Or something.
Hi.
And I think we've got about a minute to go. All right, I think, yeah, my clock is saying 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I think I'll begin. Hello everyone, my name is Martin Sawtell. I'm the Business Director for Access to Arts. We are an Adelaide-based sector development, disability arts sector development organisation. I am hosting today's little lunch online. I feel I need to make some kind of surprise. Here I am. But so I am speaking to you from Adelaide. Adelaide is in the Kaurna lands of the Kaurna people. Access to Arts and Arts Front and Feral Arts and everyone. We recognise and acknowledge the enduring ownership of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains, and we welcome their future, current and future and past leaders. So yeah, welcome. I thought I'd be a lot cooler than I kind of am. So I will stop talking. No, actually, first of all, I'll just run through a bit of housekeeping. So today's little lunch is 30 minutes. It's being recorded and streamed live and will be available for viewing afterwards on www.lol.com.au. If I could just ask that everyone keep their mics muted when they're not speaking to avoid any stray sounds. You're invited to introduce yourself on the Zoom chat and say whose country you are in today, and use the chat to ask any questions. You can, today's little lunch online is being captioned, so click on the captions button to turn on the live captioning. And we also have live Auslan signing. So click on the Auslan video to pin it to the front of your page. So I will kind of talk less, and I would like to introduce Adelaide-based poet and performance artist Alison Paradox, who we invited along to speak today because we think she's kind of awesome. So hello, Alison.
Hello, Martin. I think you're kind of awesome too, and everyone at Access to Arts and everyone that's joined today. It's so nice to see all these faces, and anyone that is watching at a later date, because I've done that myself, watched many of these at a later date, and they've been fantastic. So thank you to Feral Arts and to everyone who's put these together and invited us today. It's
Yeah.
really nice to be here.
Yeah, certainly. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky to have been invited to join in this little lunch online. You wouldn't be able to tell given the way I'm blathering on, but actually I'm a trained journalist, so go figure. Yeah. So I
You're
guess,
very good at words, though. You are.
well, thank you. You know, print journalism is obviously my strength. So the first question, I guess, is the question of the current year. How are you coping with the whole COVID-19 situation? And I think the response that we are socially going through.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I should actually properly introduce myself as Martin has already, though. I'm Alison Paradox. I'm a performance artist, predominantly working in poetry, but I collaborate a lot with my partner, who's a sound designer, 5000 AD, to create accessible art. And I'm speaking on Kaurna land today. So hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, this situation, I think, for us all has been a huge, it's been something that we've all had to deal with on many levels in our own personal ways. I think predominantly for people with chronic illnesses and disabilities, there's a whole host of other issues that rear their head through this time, and also particularly for artists. So if you combine the two, it's sort of a double whammy of two quite marginalised communities who very rarely have our voices heard. I'm probably in week maybe 8 or 9 of self-isolating myself at the moment. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and significant scoliosis, which does cause organ dysfunction. So my I'm quite immune compromised. So as soon as the word was out, well, we need to kind of bunker down, I was like, all right, well, I need to do this. There's no choice. For the first 3 or 4 weeks, I really struggled to understand what I was feeling. I was feeling a lot of numbness and I couldn't quite work out. I just felt agitated all the time. And I think in about sort of week 4 or 5, I realised what it was. I think it was predominantly anger. And that anger was coming from the fact that it was becoming so very, very apparent that through this pandemic, marginalised voices were just being completely overlooked in any kind of policy and procedure making. And and looking to the future and what was actually going to happen. We were, you know, especially people in the disability and chronic illness communities and the elderly, we were being used as examples of who you don't want to be right now. And it's sort of like, well, great, that's lovely, thank you. How are we being factored into the plans for moving ahead? And I think, you know, the stimulus package really sort of hammered that home when we were completely overlooked. Carers and disabled people were, yeah, great, we've got this $750. I mean, that's wonderful, don't get me wrong, it's bloody great. I've never bought a TV in my life. I can buy one now. Partly to do with my eccentricity, but, you know, it'd be great to have a TV. But, you know, then we've got this job seeker allowance that's come in, which again, very, very, very needed, because so many people have lost their jobs and their livelihoods right now. But it's more than what anyone on a disability pension gets normally. And we were the message that was sending was that this is all a measure on your net worth right now as a contributor to society. Although that wasn't overtly said, and I think anyone in the arts industry is really feeling that as well, because there's been a lot of measures taken in for various sectors of the working community, and the arts industry have very much been overlooked. So I think when you're working on that intersection of disability, activism and art, it's so important to have your voice heard right now, because it's largely being pushed down or used as used as an example of well, nobody wants to be this person right now because, you know, you're the one that risks, you're the one that sort of gets overlooked. I probably talked a little bit too much about that, but I think I'm starting to come out of that anger phase now, and I'm starting to actually get my creativity back again, which is such a good feeling, because yeah, I was feeling so numb, like it was sucked out of me and I couldn't understand why. I'm like, God, even when I go into hospital, I can find something to write about and something to create art about, because there's all this stuff happening and it's around me, and I'm in it. But I think that was it. I was in it. We're all in it at the moment. And I don't think until we actually come out of the real thick of it that we'll be able to create wholeheartedly about it, because we're still in it. It's still happening. It's still going on. We're still living in conditions that are unpredictable every day. Yeah, Francis, it is such a roller coaster, and we're all feeling that from whatever part of the community you're coming from. Yeah, not being able to create for me was a huge issue. That mainly happened though because a lot of what I rely on just to keep myself functioning and mobile on a daily basis are hands-on therapies. And for those first sort of 3 or 4 weeks, a lot of uncertainty meant that supports were either scaled back or cut off totally. So for me, you know, hands-on sort of physio, massage, hydrotherapy, things like that. 4 weeks not doing it, and pretty much just ended up bedridden and sleeping. I was just sleeping all the time, being exhausted from pain. And not everyone who is disabled by society is disabled by chronic pain. That's not everyone's experience. That's just mine personally. But the results that came from that was that I just didn't have, my energy just went into surviving every day and getting through and going, oh, have I eaten today? Have I got up today? Have I showered? Have I not cried? Or have I cried? Because, you know, that's useful too. So I think, yeah, being able to actually sort out some of those supports for me now has been a huge factor in being able to move forward. And yeah, Anna, I agree. Anna's just written that definitely finding it difficult to move into a creative headspace. And yeah, I think we all, our cognitive load has been largely taken up with being able to survive. And I know that after this, I'm going to be able to write some phenomenal stuff. But right now, I just can't, because it's still happening. You know, we're in it still. And I think, yeah, any artist or creative, we do tend to feel things. We tend to be quite empathetic people too. So we do tend to kind of get involved in those online arguments that we probably shouldn't sometimes, where we should just move on. But, you know, I think we need to sort of make sure we have our voices now as artists and as disabled people. So.
Wow. Well, actually, you don't need me anymore.
I'm sorry, I talk a lot.
No.
And yeah, please, if just cut me off if you need to.
I love it. You actually, for those that don't know, I tried to be very planned, and I sent Alison the questions I was going to ask her, and she's kind of answered all of them at once. So I actually think I will invite Alison to present one of my favourite of her poems, Floral Peroxide, which is the name of the show that she performed at the Adelaide Fringe Festival earlier in the year. And I'll talk more about that after we hear this amazing work. So take it away, Alison.
Thank you, Martin. This poem's called Floral Peroxide, and I actually wrote this in an Access to Arts workshop. So very fruitful. And it's called Floral Peroxide because, yeah, it encapsulates the paradoxes we live with in a disabled body. So here we go. Well, this is usually done with sound as well, so it's an acoustic solo version today. Tiptoeing on eggshells with sledgehammers for shoes, she's a vacuumed up rainbow. Hurls Molotov cocktails through her own windows just to run from herself. Bottles tears in porcelain, floral peroxide. She is arrhythmic pulses, site-specific electrodes, the colour-coded lead wire on an ECG machine. She is never 100% accurate. Distilling jars of yesterday on the shelves of her tomorrow. She is breaking eye contact with broken dreams, floral peroxide. Paints her curtains black to trap the sunlight in, sucks on lemon rind, forgets to drink the gin. She's a crumpled paper sick bag on a jet plane to the stars, riding without brakes in a helmet made of glass, a shiny paper windmill at a circus with no children. Floral peroxide. She's the warp in the record, kaleidoscopic styrofoam, every drop of saline in an intravenous cannula, pulling pieces of herself into a magnetized tourbillon filled with missing postcard memories, floral peroxide. Splinters, fragments of her wings, with her dehydrated veins, fragile, violent, glacial, cerebral hurricane. She's a diagnostic flowchart, both a smoking gun and witness. Gentle baby's jugular, passive, motion sickness. She's floral peroxide.
And thank you so much.
Oh, there's clapping. Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, thank you. Hand waving, jazz hands. Oh, it's so nice seeing everyone. I love it.
I thought that should cheer you up. As I said, that is the floral peroxide is the name of your performance that you presented at. We presented in a couple of iterations at the Adelaide Fringe, and you went to Melbourne last year with,
Yes.
with a similar show or
Yes, we
version
did.
of the show.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's saying thank you. And Melissa, thank you. Where's Melissa? Incredible wordsmithing. That's lovely. Thank you. No, we were very fortunate. The first year, the first iteration of the show, well, I was basically pushed into doing a fringe show. It wasn't something I factored into my equation that year. And I'm really glad I did, because I ended up collaborating with my partner, as I said, 5000 AD, who's a sound designer. And I wanted to create, one thing that was really important to me was that every time I got booked for a spoken word event, locally or interstate, more often than not, I'd go there and I couldn't invite any of my friends who used mobility aids, because it was always down 2 flights of stairs, up a flight of stairs. And, you know, it's venues, I get it. It's what we deal with today. But every time I'd address this with organisers and promoters, it was like, oh, too hard, too hard. And I'm like, why is it too hard? The other thing was, I was standing at a gig one day while someone else was performing. I'm looking around and I'm thinking, if I couldn't hear what this person was saying right now, what would be here for me? Absolutely all. And it's just someone waving their hands on a stage. So it was really important for me to create a show that was like, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it the way I want to, not how somebody else wants me to do when they book me for a gig. I'm going to do it how I want. So I wanted my partner to interpret the sounds. The work is about the clinical violation of the body. I was also involved in a very traumatic accident as a child at the age of 4. I was very badly burnt and underwent surgeries from the age of 4 to about 15. I'm sorry, I should have said some trigger warnings before I started launching into this story. But that had a huge impact on me, in that my body was never mine. Throughout my childhood, my teenage years, that sense of clinical violation that was inflicted and thrust upon my body was not given to me as a choice. And I wanted the feeling and the emotion to be portrayed in sound. So my partner, Matt, whose artist name is 5000 AD, did a fabulous job translating those emotions into sound. And then, of course, it was very important to have either an Auslan captioner or a captioner or an Auslan interpreter. And we thought if we had a video captioner, who we got Ian Gibbons in, and he created these wonderful images with the captions, and we're like, well, maybe Auslan would be a bit of overkill, because there's me performing, there's sound stuff, there's flights, there's everything. So we'll probably leave it at that for now and see feedback. We ended up winning the Graham F. Smith Peace Foundation Award that year, which was crazy for me, because this show was just funded off my partner and my disability pension. You know, it was like we had no funding. It was just like our pensions going into it. So winning that award for us was, for me, it was more about the fact that I felt that, well, our art is being taken seriously by the disabled community, because it was because of those aspects in accessibility that we won it. So we ended up taking the show to Melbourne the following year. I applied for a grant, just a small grant, which we were successful at, which was fantastic. And then we weren't going to do the show again. But then, I don't know, that performing thing kind of happened to me and my partner, and we're like, we got to do Fringe this year because there's so many things we wanted to improve on. And there was a lot of feedback we had from audience members, particularly those with disabilities, that we just really wanted to improve a lot of the aspects that we started making work on in that first iteration. So we did it again in 2020. At this stage, I'd say we're not doing it again in Adelaide, but you know what happens. Festivals come up and you're like, oh, but it's time to move on and create new work now, I think. We may do it interstate again, but maybe not in Adelaide for a while. I'd like to do something new that just because I'm a disabled artist, you know, I don't want to just be known for creating art that is about my disability. So I think it's very important for me now that I've had one standout show that's been about my disability, that my work from now on is reflective of just me as an artist and person other than that, because there are many aspects to my personality, not just being disabled. So yeah, I think I need to take some time to do that.
Sure. All right. Well, without wanting to drag you back over old territory, I'd like to actually invite you to present another work. You kind of said, oh, well, there's these two I could do. And I thought, I'll pick one that relates to what we've been talking about. However, they both equally relate. So maybe I'll invite you, Alison, to present one of the two poems that you think you'd better like to present to us.
Sure. Thank you. And I know we've only got 5 minutes left, so one more poem. This is a poem that I wrote about, well, I have to credit Martin and the team at Access to Arts for bringing me out of my disability shell for this poem, because I spent most of my life being taught to hide my disability, or the way society has disabled me, rather. I was taught that was something that was my fault and that I needed to keep that hidden. And being able to actually say, I am a disabled artist and these are the reasons why I am disabled, is very, very important to me right now, because ownership is about recreating my own self-narrative. And yes, I may have kind of lost a few people along the way in doing that didn't quite understand my intention behind that, but I think sometimes you need to. So this one is called Cupboard of Shame, because whatever we deal with in life, we all have our cupboard of shame. The cupboard of shame has no custom-made mirror doors or uber kitsch plastic paneling. Isn't her shoe rack. You can't buy a cupboard of shame from IKEA or bid for it on eBay. You can't buy a cupboard of shame with money or even find it on the side of the road for hard rubbish collection day. The cupboard of shame is built by you and personalised with your own regrets and denigration, uncomfortable secrets, taunts and humiliation. It is made of whispers and asides, scoffs and judgment, hidden secrets and denial. It is made of that time your own father walked down the street 13 paces ahead of you so that no one could tell you were his, daughter. It is made of all the times your body was exposed to doctors' eyes as an exhibit in the Museum of Sickness. It is made up of the assumptions of your mental state by men in business suits with folded arms who reek of mid-range aftershave, who think they know you and what you are made up of. It is the root of your addictions, the bane of your afflictions, madness and pain, sane or insane, it's all locked away safely in your cupboard of shame. It is all the fractured ribs and grated knuckles, all the bloodshot eyes and lost dreams, all the regret of youth disappeared. It is going to sleep at the age of 18 and waking up at the age of 32, not remembering who you are. The cupboard of shame. It's just a cupboard. And cupboards can't last forever. They get damp, mildewy. They start to rot and pieces fall away from their once solid structures. Yesterday, I began to construct a bonfire. I slowly peeled small splinters of wood from the legs of the cupboard of shame. I unhinged its rotting doors. I put an axe to its broken frame, and someday soon I shall be warmed by its bittersweet flames until all that remains are the blazing ashes of memories left from my cupboard of shame.
Yay, thank you, Alison. Now I've got mere moments until we have to end this. So I just wanted to quickly say that the signing dropped out for most of this lunch, which is really unfortunate. But Feral Arts will be re-recording the signing video tonight, and we'll post it on the lunch page. And then, yeah, that's time. So I will respond to, well, Alice and I will respond to Riona's question after the show. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Alison. I think you've got a whole lot of new fans. So, because this chat is blowing up. Thank you to Ferals, thank you to the interpreters, thank you to captioners, thank you to ball boys and linesman people. So, yay, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.